Hi Flosstube, it's Kim Parda again. I thought today was a good time to make a video. I've got lots of stuff going on. Tomorrow is obviously May 1st, the start of Stitch Mania. I'm not sure if I'm actually doing Mania or not, but I'm just starting a couple stitch alongs, so does that count as Mania? If it does, then I guess yes, I'm doing Mania. I just watched Just Keep Stitching, so Pam and Steph, and I liked their approach, and they are using someone else's, but I can't do that connection that far back. But at any rate, I loved what they're doing in that they're using what they started last year for Mania for this year's Mania. I thought that was a fantastic idea, so good job, ladies. Someday, maybe I will do that. So I have the worst case of stitching ADD going on. All the things I said last time about plans and whatnot, out the window, literally out the window. Just got too many distractions, too many things needing to be stitched on. I just couldn't stay focused, and I will get back to the Medieval Town Mandala, the Chatelaine. I haven't stitched on it since I filmed the last video because instantly got distracted. So I will show you those distractions and how I got distracted, and basically then what I ended up working on. So this video will be in no certain order. I'll basically show you my distractions as they came up. And you'll understand maybe then why things happened the way they did. So first distraction, not in a negative sense, please don't get me wrong. So Anita from Holly and Anita and I are going to do a stitch along, and it's for a pattern that's been out for a while. I've had it since it's been out. It's called Barnwood Buttons by Rosewood Manor. So we're going to do this stitch along together, and it wasn't for the longest time. I'm like, why would they stitch it on a darker fabric like that? And I was like, oh, that's the dirt. So I always imagined it being stitched on green, and I hummed and hawed about what kind of green to get, and I ended up with this, and it's actually called Laurel. It's a 32 count. And I don't stitch on 32 count anymore. The only reason I'm doing it is so the buttons fit. So these buttons, and I gotta find the buttons. So I haven't searched high and low. I've searched low, but not high. So I'm gonna keep looking. I haven't given up yet. They're around here somewhere. I've just gotta find them. You know, and part of me is like, oh, just buy another set, but they're kind of pricey. So we're not just gonna buy another set. We're gonna find the buttons. I am going to find the buttons. But at any rate, and just Anita, so you know, I don't think I'm going to stitch the saying at the bottom. And it says, when one tugs at a single thing in nature, he finds it attached to the rest of the world. A sweet saying. I don't know, too sweet maybe for my personality. I'm a little snarky. So I'm going to stitch it on the screen. And again, it's called Laurel. And it was almost like a sign, because this was cut exactly to the size of this piece. So I was like, it's a sign. I'm supposed to stitch it on this. So anyway, we are starting this for Mania, I believe, right, Anita? Yes. So I am ready. I have my threads set to go. So we're good with that. I just need to find the buttons. So that's going to be one thing that I'm stitching on. The other stitch along, so it's kind of fun. So in my Stitch 9 challenge, I have, I think it's a Plum Street sampler fractor piece. And a gal named Kathy in our guild here in Minneapolis had said, you know, or had mentioned she was debating about whether to stitch the Redbird fractor or whatever. And I said, well, if you stitch on it, I'll stitch on it with you. I have it in my stash, and as part of my Stitch 9 challenge. come to find out, we were talking about two separate fracture pieces. So, because I made this deal, I went out and actually had to find the Redbird fracture. And it's not old, but I had a hard time finding it in some LNSs, so I searched high and low for it. Of course, it's at Country Sampler, Brenda Gervais. But she was on vacation, and so I was hoping to find it somewhere else. I even was at the attic at the time, went there, couldn't find it, went online, checked, couldn't find it. It's very bizarre. So anyway, I finally did go to the Country Sampler site and waited for her to get back from vacation. And of course, she was a couple days late turning her site back on to get the Redbird fracture. So there it is, and it's a cute piece. So this is the one I'm doing a stitch along with Kathy on. And so again, I said I usually don't stitch on 32. This just happened to be in my stash. Remember, I was kind of building my stash of fabric, and I loved this color, and it's called Espresso. And the only size that it came in was the 32, or I know it comes in 40, but it wasn't available. So I bought the 32, and I thought, oh my gosh, this piece would look fabulous on this Espresso color. So I'm stitching it on this 32, and it's a ginormous piece. So I went to stitch in at Stitchville, and they laughed at me because of how honkin' big this fabric was, and I didn't cut the fabric. I'll get there, you know, there's no rush. But, so this is how, I think this is like half a yard. This is how big the fabric is. I hope this is my picture. And this is how much I got done. And it's just, because I've only been stitching on 40 count now, this just looks ginormous to me, but this is how far I am. So 32 count, and I hope I'm going to have enough thread. I never had to worry about that on 40 count. I mean, 40 count, you barely use any thread, so on 32 count, I'm going through it a little bit faster, so I hope I'm going to have enough thread. If not, hopefully I can get similar dye lots. As you can see, I'm not too worried about it, so we'll figure it out. So those are two stitch alongs that I'm doing, or well, soon we'll be doing. This is starting tomorrow. So that's kind of one thing that a couple things that came up since we did a video. The other thing I think that I was doing at the time was I'm actually taking a needlepoint class from a local needle workshop called Three Kittens. It's actually in Mendota Heights. And it's a Christmas piece, and I rarely stitch Christmas, but because it's a class, it's over 6 weeks, and it's every other week that they meet. And so this is what I've done so far. It's the Christmas train, and I don't remember, oh, it's the Rebecca piece. But at any rate, I have stitched all of this. I've started tent stitching this, started a little bit of the gold on the tree. I've stitched the red, parts of this green, the candy canes, the black here, and then I don't know if you can see the snowflakes here. So I've started stitching all of that. This is from Gina. If those of you who know Gina, that's a Gina needleminder. So I have been spending a lot of time on this piece because it is part of the class. The teacher is now going to go on vacation, so I won't be able to get back to this, or at least to her, for about another month. So I'm going to put it down for a little while and do something else. And that something else, it was my next distraction. So while I'm sitting in the class, there's another guild member there named Carrie. And she and I also have 2 other needlepoint pieces that are the same. And she out of the blue says, "Hey Kim, I'm done with them." And I'm like, "What?" Because they're fairly recent. I mean, these were just a class, I want to say a couple months ago, and she's done already. And she said, "Kim, they stitch up super fast." I'm then sitting there thinking, "Wow, super fast, huh?" And so literally that night when I got back from class, so I got back at, I don't know, after 9 o'clock on a school night, and I dug out the pieces and started stitching on them. So I'll show you this. This is a frog piece, and she's right, they do stitch up really fast. So I literally have the head, this lower part of the body, and then the beading on these black spots, and I'm done. So she's right, it goes really fast. And they have such a unique way of finishing this. I can't wait to show you when I'm done. So this is probably 4 nights worth of stitching. I would say maybe 2 more nights and I can get this done, if I can get 2 more nights of stitching in. My husband is going in for surgery tomorrow, a little bit unexpected. He's having some tendon repair. So I will be doing the working single mom bed again for a little while until he recovers. But also I wanted to show you my needle minder. I got this off of Etsy. It's blown glass. So it's a little owl on my frog needlepoint project. So that's the other distraction. So I'm working on this at home. The fractor that you saw, I work on that on the bus. It's 32 count, it's big enough, it's good. So one of my other Stitch 9 challenges, I was working on a little bit. I don't know how much more progress I made, maybe a little bit more on the pumpkin, so I'll show you that. This is the Eat Crow from Plum Street Samplers. So pretty good progress. You know, and I find stitching that pumpkin just very rhythmic. So I'm really enjoying that. All right, so that's kind of what I got going on, why I got pulled away from the medieval town mandala. You'll affectionately hear me call it MTM. So yeah, that's how my stitching ADD went. That is the explanation. So yeah, just don't believe anything I say when it comes to what I'm going to stitch on next, though. The stitch along with Anita and Kathy I definitely will do. So I don't know, there's something about doing a stitch along that makes you feel committed, right? I also talk about distractions, and I just really can't look at it right now, is the And They Sin chart. So another individual from our guild, Joyce, had posted on Facebook her finish of that. And she had stitched it on a fabric called Winter Moon. And I just got my piece of fabric from Stitchville of Winter Moon. I was looking for something other than antique white. And though Winter Moon is kind of less than a cream, I mean, it's very subtle. So when it's folded up, it almost looks like a cream color, a light cream. But when you undo it, it doesn't look as creamy, and I really like that. So I can't wait to show you once my stitch ADD goes a little bit further and I start that, because I'm sure I will. You know, no video is complete without showing you some of my new bags, because I always need new bags. So this one came from So Much to Love. This was on her sale page. I'm a big fan of orange, so I got this one. And then Diddly Daddle Designs. I'm not a lemon fan, and I wouldn't have picked this fabric, but I loved this bag when she showed it. So here it is, and of course her featured zipper pull. Isn't that awesome? I think that's awesome. So I'm not a lemon person, but for whatever reason, love this bag. So I wouldn't have picked it, but it's awesome. All right, so sadly enough, the rest of my Nashville haul showed up yesterday. It's a long time, but you know, I've got enough to do. So it was kind of a nice surprise when it finally came. So I will show you the rest of what I received. And it's kind of funny because when I showed you the last, what I got last time, one of the pins, the Puntini pins, when I showed them to you, I was like, oh, you know, I'm surprised I would have ordered those. And when I looked back at my order after I filmed the video, I was like, yeah, I didn't order these. These are the wrong ones. So they were kind enough to let me keep the pins that they had mistakenly sent, and then they also sent me new ones. So these were the ones that I did order. Look at how cute all those animals are, and then you got the nuts, and yeah. So I thought those were awesome. And then, so I'm also doing the pillows, the dog and cat pillows from Hands On Designs. So I got the pins for those. Those finally came, the meow and the wolf. And you know, I didn't realize she was going to keep track of how many dog ones and how many cat ones she sold to see who were more cat lovers and dog lovers, because I'm like, well, then I wouldn't have ordered both, but they were both so freaking cute. But I do have a dog. My husband's definitely allergic to cats, so that's not the cards for me. Then I got the flamingo pin. And then I also got the tray for the Brenda Gervais pattern. So that is this. And then the infamous Ode to the Ort box, which I'm sure many of you have seen. I also got the stoneware tart for a few of their pieces. And these weren't, and some of these I also added to my order that weren't necessarily Nashville, but were on my to get list. Though I don't remember this one, but it's really cute, so I'm sure it just ended up in my cart. It's called Cat on the Rug. Funny, I should just talk about the dog and the cat, and here's another cat pattern. So this is by Stitch and Needs. So he's cute. And then I also got Bird and Willow by Annalee Waite. I just love this one. And I'll use some of those silk threads that I got at half off, those Belsoise. So I got pink, if you remember from my last video, so I think I'll use those on that one. And then the other last ones I got, the Scattered Seed Samplers, the Catherine Dickinson 1840 design. Love that. And you know, I think even with all these samplers I have, I've never stitched a sampler. I got the Deventer Duo, the GGR, and the Needleworks Press. I just love that. And then the Ooh La La book from Blackbird. So that was the rest of my Nashville haul. I'll show you some other random haul that I got from various sources. So on Stash Unload, I was able to get the Birds of a Feather Mystery Sampler by Brenda Gervais. So I got all three of those. I think Michelle Rudy is stitching on this. So I'm excited to be, you know, doing this one as well. I loved it. It was great. From 123 Stitch, I got this Blackbird Designs, My Gift to You. Bring it up a little closer. Dear Daughter. So I just love the pattern with the butterfly on it. And then it being called Dear Daughter, considering I have two of them, I thought, well, that's appropriate. And then I'm also doing like the friendship, I don't know, thing out of silver needle. And I'm sure some of you have probably seen this on Stash Unload. The stitching circle is what it's called. And this is, hang on. This is called the stitching bee. I think it's cute. I mean, if I saw it, I probably wouldn't buy it, but since I have it, I probably will stitch on it. Look at all the stuff that's included. Also off of Stash Unload, I got this pin cushion. And then a couple other things. This is called Lauren's Voice from La Di Da. Treat yourself well. I think, you know, we're in an age of maybe this doesn't happen all the time. So I thought this was a very sweet sentiment and something, you know, that even I need to remind myself of every day. Sometimes we can be our biggest critic. So yeah, I'm going to stitch that and maybe put it in my office. I also got Sarah Hook, 1824 from Carriage House Samplings. Let's see what it says. It says, when I'm dead and in my grave and all my bones are rotten, remember me when you see that I be not forgotten. Sarah Hook, 1824. I also got the Mary Hogg Sampler 1830 from the 1884 Stitchery, so McKenna's site, in her collaboration. And this actually has specialty stitches in it, so I was a little surprised. I didn't realize that was the case, and obviously I'm doing needlepoint. I've done a lot of specialty stitches, but yeah, looking forward to doing those. Then I also got Humble Home from the Work Basket. I thought that was cute. And then I got the 3 pigs from the Prairie Schooler. I thought that was cute too. So that's what I got. It was a lot. It was a lot more than I figured it would be. So, you know, I'd like to end it with, hey, come back and see all the stuff that I said I'd be working on, but who knows what the next video will bring. But like I said, I did make a commitment, and so with Anita and Kathy, I will be stitching on those as my bust pieces, or if I'm tired, I might be working on those rather than needlepoint, because needlepoint requires a little bit more concentration than sometimes my 9:30 brain at night can't do. So anyway, I hope you're all out enjoying your stitching, and I hope for those of you doing Mania starting tomorrow, good luck. I will be cheering you on and watching all of the stitchy goodness that you'll be creating. So anyway, have a good night. Talk soon. Bye.